What's up, everybody? GeauxBurns welcoming you to another episode of my Discuss series. Today, we're talking about your worst video games. So, last week I gave you an opportunity through the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, to submit your worst video game or worst video games. And I actually extended it to like Saturday because of my biopsy on Friday. I forgot to send out a tweet because, all that crap was happening. And I decided, you know what, screw it. Late Friday night, I decided to give it like a one-day extension. But anyways, thanks to everybody that submitted your worst video game or video games for this week's Discuss episode. And bear in mind, I'm still recovering from the biopsy. So far, so good. But we got a lot of submissions. So thanks to everybody that submitted to the Discuss video, and if I did accidentally forget somebody's submission, I do apologize. Like I said, we had a few submissions, and I've been recovering, and I was only on pain meds like the first day, but still, I'm using it as an excuse, okay? If your, Discuss topic, your submission, accidentally didn't make it onto the video, I apologize. All right, with that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. We're going to go with, let's see, last week, did we go like alphabetically or did we go reverse order? I don't remember. You know what? Screw it. We're going to go reverse order. So we went reverse order last week. Well, double reverse on me. Okay. So anyways, first submission comes from the Killer Potato, Mr. Burns. Man, always Mr. Burns. You can just call me Go or GB. You don't have to be all formal or whatever. Mr. Burns, I would have to say it's a tie between Watch Dogs and COD Black Ops 3. Why? Because I found Watch Dogs incredibly hard to play and advance in the story, and it just pissed me off. And COD Black Ops 3 was just too futuristic, and the story was just too stupid. And I haven't been a COD fan for a very, very long time. Last time I really was into COD was back in the 2000s when they played the World War II COD games, and it's interesting because they've gone back to World War II in the next COD game coming out this fall, and I'm still kind of on the fence, ironically. I don't know, but we'll see if it ends up getting good reviews, if people are really enjoying COD World War II. I might just have to pick it up because I'm a big history buff. Regarding Watch Dogs, unfortunately, I agree with you, the Killer Potato. It's one of the videos that was originally very popular on the channel. Well, popular for the wrong reason. I covered a little bit of Watch Dogs early on in, May 2014, a few months after starting the channel, predominantly Grand Theft Auto Online, but one of the other games that I originally played besides Grand Theft Auto Online was Watch Dogs, and there was obviously some issues with the game, like driving kind of sucked, the character didn't really care about the character very much. Oh, and the loading screen. Yeah, that's something that a lot of people to this very day still complain about, and people still watch that video going on 3 years later. Yeah, they still watch that loading screen bug issue, which Ubisoft never resolved. So that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for like future Watch Dogs games as well as Ubisoft in general. But I feel like they're trying to turn things around. It's just sad that they kind of left that unresolved, even though they did release a bug, a fix, a patch, but it obviously didn't work out because still people are having problems with that loading screen issue. All right, so thanks for the submission, TKR. Now, we are going to move on next on our list. Let's see, where are we at now? Where are we at? Okay. Oh, no, it's novel time so early in the Discuss video. Okay, so I think we're doing it right because if I remember last week's Discuss video, Sedan was near the end of the video, which means we went in alphabetical order. So I think we're doing right. Reverse, alphabetical, reverse. Okay, I think we're on track. But anyways, Sedan off YouTube, worst video game. Go back many years. I was 7 years old, just learning the joys of Star Wars and video games. My older brother had a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis. And among those NES games, well, Super Nintendo games was Super Empire Strikes Back, which was my favorite and remains my favorite Star Wars movie. Okay, so Super Empire Strikes Back is your favorite, Star Wars game, but it's also your favorite Star Wars movie, or is it just one or the other? Let me continue. However, the game was completely impossible for 7-year-old me. Actually, you know what? Okay, so obviously I should have kept reading. My bad. Hey, I had a medical procedure a few days ago. Okay, excuses. I couldn't make it 3 feet in that game without losing my mind. I didn't know what it was about. The game that made it so damn impossible that I never made it past the first or second level. And to this day, it's the only Star Wars game I haven't enjoyed. Technically, there might have been worse games that were soundtracks or graphics or terrible bugs. But for the first Star Wars video game I ever played to be impossibly difficult, I've never forgotten it, at least with those games. I knew they were bad games when I went into them and could at least appreciate what little good they may have had, or appreciated them for being so horrifically bad from an ironic standpoint. But this game was Star Wars, and admit it had to live up to the high bar, and it just wasn't for me. Second place is Majora's Mask, which I didn't care for about Zelda, even though I loved the original NES game as a kid. This game was stupid and had terrible controls. I was much older, probably around 14 when I played it. All right, so backing up to Super Empire Strikes Back, a lot of people actually enjoyed the Super Star Wars games, like Super, Empire Strikes Back and Super Return of the Jedi. I don't know why it was so difficult for you, Sedan, but it's actually remembered quite favorably by Star Wars fans. And yeah, so I mean, there have been better Star Wars games that have come out. There have been worse Star Wars games as well. But I agree with you. Majora's Mask is one of my least favorite Zelda games as well. Ironically, one of my favorite Zelda games is Ocarina of Time, which is, kind of like the... Majora's Mask is kind of like the direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. But, I mean, I remember playing Super Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Super Star Wars Return of the Jedi, whatever. They sucked. They were really hard for me, but I wouldn't consider them the worst games ever. But they were still difficult. But I think a lot of people did enjoy them back in the day. But this was back in the 90s on the Super Nintendo. All right, thanks to Dan for your submission. And by the way, if you guys missed out on submitting your worst video game or worst video games ever, feel free and do so in the comments section. All right, so let's see. Where are we going next? We're going all the way to Ireland with Session Box. For worst video games, I think I'd have to go with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. That game has nothing good in it, and I thought it was a complete waste of money, and I sold it within a week. So once again, another person not exactly happy with the quote-unquote futuristic COD games. So thank you for that submission, Session Box. Now we're moving on to where are we going next. By the way, I'm trying to make sure that I get everybody. Okay, so we're going with Real Scorpion, also off of YouTube. Duke Nukem Forever. So that is Real Scorpion's submission. I loved Duke Nukem 3D as a kid, and when Forever finally was going to come out, I was so hyped. And even though it didn't get good reviews, I was like, well, I got to play it. I bought it full price, and the game was just a steaming pile of shit. Everything from the game was so bad. Graphics were crap and all the time. Gameplay mechanics were so outdated. Jokes weren't even in the area code of being funny. Was so disappointed with that game. Worst game I ever played for sure. I think it took a very long time for Duke Nukem Forever to come out. It was in development hell forever, and it finally came out. A lot of people were excited, and it was a huge, big, steaming disappointment. So I think a lot of people feel the same way you do, Real Scorpion, regarding Duke Nukem Forever. Okay, so next we're going to Prestige Gamer. Just Cause 3 is probably one of the worst games I ever played, because I feel like the concept of the game would have suited multiplayer a whole lot better than single player only. I canceled my Rainbow Six Siege pre-order just for Just Cause 3, and I regret it. Okay, so he's not saying that Rainbow Six Siege is worst, okay? Just bear that in mind. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that he was going to get Rainbow Six Siege, but because of his excitement for Just Cause 3, he canceled that pre-order in favor of Just Cause 3. Obviously, Prestige Gamer regretted that decision. Later, after I returned the game, I decided to buy Ark Survival Evolved on Xbox One. Anyways, that's one of the worst games ever played, in my opinion. Okay, so are you saying Ark Survival Evolved is one of the worst games you ever played as well? Or are you simply saying that after you returned Just Cause 3, then you got Ark Survival Evolved for Xbox One? I had Ark Survival on PC on my laptop, actually. It ran okay, but I kind of got tired of all the bugs and glitches, even though I love dinosaurs, so I got tired of playing that. But back to Just Cause 3, funny story. So Crone talked me a few years back into Let's Playing Just Cause 3. Crone is one of our subscribers, viewers, fans. He also has his own channel. And he's a big Just Cause fan. And he talked me into it. And thanks, Crone. So I Let's Played a few episodes. It's on the channel somewhere in a playlist. At the time, I was getting pretty good reviews. I mean, pretty good views. Yeah, views for my Let's Play of Just Cause 3, not reviews. I quit because I was not enjoying my Just Cause 3 experience. Because I didn't play the first 2 Just Causes, and I just wasn't feeling Just Cause 3, so surprise, surprise, I stopped Let's Playing it. Even though I was getting views for it, I just wasn't enjoying myself. And if I'm not enjoying myself, I'm not going to whore myself out to make videos just to get fucking views. Anytime you see something on the channel, whether I get 1,000+ views or 30 views, like I did with Prominence Poker a few days ago, it's something I actually enjoy playing. I may not get views for it, or I may get a ton of views, but it's something that you can rest assured that I put on the channel for a reason. It doesn't always work out that way, because I really wanted to enjoy Just Cause 3. It looked like potentially a lot of fun, and it might have been for other players. It just wasn't the case for me. All right, thanks, Prestige, for your submission to the worst games ever. Well, I don't know if these are the worst games ever, but they could be on a list somewhere. All right, so where are we now? We have reached the end with Omega. No, just kidding. Omega. One of the worst games I've ever played was Super Mario Sunshine for GameCube. The plot was terrible because Mario getting blamed for what Shadow Mario did, even though the residents can clearly see them both. And it's hilarious how Peach just stands there as Shadow Mario approaches her in the beginning. The controls are decent, but this pretty much is the only thing the game has going for it. The 100-coin mission from Super Mario 64 are back. And it's worse because you have to select the right episode because some episodes have more coins than others. I also had trouble with, platforming sections where you couldn't use your hovering nozzle, but maybe I just suck at those. That's why I think Mario Sunshine sucks. So, admittedly, I must make a confession. I'm one of the ones that bought not only the Nintendo GameCube, it looks kind of cool. I also bought Super Mario Sunshine, and I would say it's probably one of my least favorite Super Mario games, to be honest. I didn't really enjoy it, and I'm not bashing Super Mario because I love Super Mario games. I played the original in 68. I played Super Mario in 64. I played the NES Super Marios. I played the Super Nintendo Super Marios as well. So I've played quite a few Super Mario games. Enjoyed them all. But if I had a list of Mario games and I had to rank them, I'd probably put Super Mario Sunshine at the bottom of my list because I, too, did not really enjoy that game, even though I wanted to. In fact, I kind of stopped playing it. But anyways, so I agree with you, iOmega. Super Mario Sunshine really didn't do it for me either. Okay, so there we go. Even Super Mario is not safe from this list. All right, so where are we going next? Let me make sure. Okay, there we go. Next, we got Michael. Also, well, this is not off the GameCube. It's off the N64. If you see me sweating, I just got out of the shower. Plus, it's kind of hot, so if you see a little water on me, that's why. Michael Carlisle off of Facebook, Superman 64. And I agree, Michael. I'm a DC nerd. I love Batman. I love Superman. I love Justice League. Did not like this game. I still remember trying to play it, and it had its moments, but it wasn't very good. No, it was not. And hopefully one day we'll get like Rocksteady or some other developer to make a really awesome bona fide Superman game. That would be awesome. I would also like to see a bona fide Superman movie, but we'll see if that ever happens. Okay, so anyways, a little hate for... See, Super Mario and Superman are not safe from being part of our list of worst video games. And they're super, by the way. Next, we're going to Lapis Loaf. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I did not, I apologize. Worst video game for me is Lego Movie video game. You basically just watch the Lego Movie, which is a great movie, but you watch it in pieces and you do lame levels in between the cutscenes. I think it's only good if you haven't seen the movie, and I played this game because then the story would be new. But I'd recommend watching the movie instead of playing this game anyway. So I've yet to watch either the Lego movie or Lego Batman, which is probably an even greater crime because, as I mentioned, I'm a DC fan. I also like Marvel, but if I have to pick, I'm going with DC, even though I do like some Marvel. I'm not about hating between Marvel or DC. I just happen to love Batman more than any other comic book character. And yes, eventually I need to watch Batman Lego movie. And maybe I'll watch the Lego movie as well. But so even Lego is not safe from being on this list. All right, Lapis, thank you so much for your submission. A few surprises. Not all of them. A lot of them I kind of saw coming a mile away because, you know, they have a pretty bad history. Reputation. Next, we go with Kevin off of the Facebook page. I had to do some hard, deep thinking to remember what the worst game I ever played was. But now, for me, the worst game ever I played is Sims on the PSP. Sims is a long franchise, and don't ask me why, because I only played it on the PSP. So the only Sims game I ever played was the original PC Sims, and I loved it because I'm a Sims fan, SimCity, and the reason why I never got Sims 2 or 3 or the others, I don't know. I never got around to it, but I absolutely loved the first Sims game, and I spent hours and hours playing that game, and I ended up doing some pretty bad stuff to my Sims, like, you know, like locking them inside, depriving them of food or the ability to use the restroom, or bad stoves and microwaves, and you know, it didn't end so well for them. I was kind of cruel whenever I got very bored of playing that game, but I can imagine that the PSP version of Sims probably was very bare bones at best. So I would say the PC version of Sims is definitely way better, in my opinion. And back then, it was probably really hard to put, you know, that kind of game and translate it over to the PSP, even though the PSP did have some good games like Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, for example. But yeah, I mean, some games just shouldn't be on a portable device. And, you know, there's some games that work better for PC than for like consoles, even though consoles have kind of closed that gap with current gen, you know, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Next, let's see, where are we going on all this as we try to make sure we don't forget anybody, leave anyone out. All right, so I think we are here. Let me double check real quick. So I hope you guys are enjoying this list of worst video games. Don't forget, you can either submit your worst video game or games, or if you agree with anybody's submission, feel free and chime in below in the comments section as well. So next, we go to my old friend, Foot. No Man's Sky. I don't think there's any explanation. I wish you guys would, though. I wish you guys would, like, at least give me a sentence or a paragraph or something to explain why you don't like those video games. Okay, so overall, I would say that there's a lot of hype and high expectations for No Man's Sky. And most people feel let down by No Man's Sky. And I played it. I even did a few episodes on the channel. I thoroughly enjoyed it because I like games you could just get lost in. Like if you're in a bad mood, you got something going on in your life, and you just feel like you just want to get lost somewhere without having to hop in the truck or the car and just drive down the road because A, you can't because of your pets, or B, you know, gas isn't cheap. Or you just don't feel like driving. You know, I always felt like No Man's Sky was a good game for that. But at the same time, I really do feel like they should have probably waited a little bit longer before they released the game with a bit more content. I know eventually they rolled out more content for the game, and hopefully it's way better than it was at launch. But this is just another prime example of how developers and publishers are pressured into getting a game out during a certain deadline, and it had already been delayed a few times already. So they try to make the deadline because, you know, if they don't make the deadline, it pisses off fans, and some people are not as forgiving as others when it comes to delays. And so I don't know. I mean, it was delayed a few times, so I can understand why they felt like they had no choice but just to get it out as is, and then eventually add content to it down the road. But I could see why people, you know, felt let down by No Man's Sky. Even though personally, I did enjoy playing it. I enjoyed getting lost, but there was a lot of repetitiveness to it. It's just a game where there's no real goal, even though they say to get to the center of the galaxy. You get to the center of the galaxy, you go to another galaxy. It's just explore and have fun, and that's the way I see it. But it's not for everybody. All right, where are we next on our little list? We are at... Hold on. Almost forgot somebody. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, good. Okay, I didn't forget anyone. I had to double check. Flashy! I got this one game on PlayStation Store for free called Blacklight Retribution. It's pretty much just a replica of Black Ops 3, but worse. Now, somebody was ripping COD Black Ops 3 earlier as one of the worst games they ever played. So you can imagine how much worse this game is than Black Ops 3. So if Black Ops 3 was bad, imagine what Blacklight Retribution is to Flashy and others that actually played that game. Okay, so anyways. I mean, what kind of... I mean, you take a game that's not very popular and you decide, oh, that's a brilliant idea. Let's make a clone version of that game. No, the idea is to make a clone version of, good games. Next, we go to Elaine. Worst game ever, The Order 1886. I was glad and waited on picking up this game when it went on sale. When the trailer was released, it looked fantastic, but as soon as you play the game, it's just an utter disappointment. The campaign was one of the shortest I've ever seen, and sadly, most of the game is basically full of cutscenes, non-interactive gameplay. The environment is gorgeous, but there was very little exploration. The storyline and combat were let down and left little to be desired. And right after you finish the game, there's no extra features. This game has to be one of Sony's horrible exclusives. Hopefully, we don't ever have a repeat in the near future. And I was also equally excited about the idea of The Order 1886 because it has a Victorian era vibe to it. It had vampires, werewolves, all the typical creatures of the night. It looked beautiful, just like Elaine said, but there was a lot of QT going on, and I loathe QuickTime events. I understand sometimes you have to have QuickTime events in games, but I do not like it when an entire game, especially a game like Rise for the Xbox and like Order 1886 depend heavily on QT. That's a major turn down for me. I do not like QuickTime. I like a little freedom to make moves like in Batman Arkham Knight. You can attack your enemy one way or the other way, or throughout the entire Batman Arkham series or Assassin's Creed, other games like that. And QT, I've never liked QT, and if there is QT in a game, it kind of works, I guess, for like Telltale games, but with Telltale games you get a fantastic story, and unlike Order 1886, you actually get a little bit of choices in some of the Telltale games, like specifically Batman Telltale. There was a lot of different roads you could have gone down with in that game. So there are rare exceptions that I enjoy, tolerate QT in a game, but if you depend the entire gameplay on QT, no. It doesn't matter how good looking the game is. I'm not going to get it, whether it's Rise or Order 1886. And the premise for both those games, good. The execution, not so much. Okay, thank you so much, Elaine. And I think a lot of people will agree with you regarding that submission. Because, yeah, that was a major letdown. Next, we go to Connor off of Twitter. Worst video game I've ever played was Retribution. Well, Ride to Hell Retribution and Fight Club, because those two games have horrible graphics. And they're hard, according to Connor. I've never played either of the game. I did watch Fight Club, and we're not going to talk about Fight Club. That's the first rule. But I will say this, Helena Bonham Carter, really hot in that game. That movie. It's not a game, but it is a game. But the game sucked. Anyways, so, yes, his two least favorite games, worst games in Connor's opinion, Ride to Hell Retribution and Fight Club. Even though the movie Fight Club is very good, if you haven't watched it already. Okay, so we've approached the seas, so we're getting closer and closer to the end here. And I haven't fallen over yet, so that's a good thing. Even though it's a little warm, I'm a little sweaty, I'm still recovering from my biopsy a few days ago. CJ Ware. Enemy Front, I paid full price for that clusterfuck of an FPS. It's almost unplayable. Anyways, so I never played Enemy Front. I'm not as into FPSs as I used to be, even though I'm kind of on the fence about COD World War II, and I'm kind of interested in Star Wars Battlefront 2 because I'm a Star Wars fan, and Battlefront 2 looks a lot better than the first EA Battlefront. Looks like it has a lot more, including an awesome story from the Empire's point of view. So, I mean, there are a few exceptions to FPSs, but for the most part, I'm not really much of an FPS fan, and I've never heard of Enemy Front, to be honest. But I could imagine that it's probably not a very good game, especially since, most people probably never heard of that game. And if you have, let me know if you think it sucks or not. Thank you so much, CJ, for your submission. Next, we go all the way back to Ireland to Chaotic Irishman. Worst game ever to exist is Ride to Hell Retribution. Another vote for Ride to Hell Retribution because it's literally a ride to fucking hell. So you have Connor, you have Chaotic Irishman. They both say that game is the worst game ever. So even though I never played that game, I'm going to take two of my subscribers' advice and stay the hell out of the way of Ride to Hell Retribution. It does not sound like a fun game at all, especially if two people grade it as their worst game ever. All right, so where are we now on the list? We are at can't think of a name off of YouTube. Gonna go with Driver 3. It may not be the absolute worst game I ever played, but God did it suck. As I've already said, I think Driver 1 and 2 are two of the best games ever made for their time. And at least they had to ruin it and turn into Grand Theft Auto, but with terrible shooting mechanics, maps that lacked the magic of the first two games. It's definitely the biggest disappointment I ever played. The sad part was Driver Parallel Lines, while better, still wasn't that good either. Fortunately, they made up for it with Driver San Francisco, a truly underrated open world and driving game gem. And I still hope that one day we will see a Driver 7. Sadly, I can't see that happening anymore. Just like Half-Life 3, yeah. It's unfortunate because, yeah, the first two drivers were good, but then it went downhill from there. Quite literally. So, anyways, thank you so much, Can't Think, for your submission. And maybe one day we will get a Driver 7. Hopefully it'll be way better. Then again, I would not bet the farm on that one. Next, Brian. Hey, GeauxBurns. Great video. My worst video game experience was Superman for N64. Another vote for Superman N64. Superman 64, whatever you want to call it. And, of course, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 for PS2 for Superman 64. Terrible flying mechanics. Marvel Alliance 2, terrible glitches. When the character talks to you, you hear no voice audio. That's my worst game experiences. Sorry for my bad writing. Well, I'm worse. So, anyways, it's no big deal. I understood you. That's what matters, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with your choices regarding Superman 64 as well as Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, though I don't think I've ever played Ultimate Alliance 2. I heard bad things about it, though, but definitely another vote for Superman 64. Man, no love for Superman 64 today. None whatsoever. All right, so we have come to it at last. The final submission for worst video games in this Discuss video. Alex, off of YouTube. Like how I belched and said your name at the same time. That was really awesome, wasn't it? Timing, right? Okay, so anyways, from Alex off YouTube, one of my worst video game experiences was Def Jam Icon on the Xbox 360. I had played all the previous Def Jam fighting games. DJ Fight for New York on PS2 was such an awesome game. My friends and I would play on the PS2 for hours. Sadly, when the newest Def Jam came out, it was a shell of their older games. They added terrible music. It hurts the player system. It had very few characters, levels, even songs. I could go on and on about what's wrong with that game. Simply an embarrassment to a video game as whole, especially fighting games. I never played the Def Jam series, but I also heard that Def Jam Icon sucked. Okay, so there we go. I believe I got everybody. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, for anyone that may have submitted via YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter that I might have missed, I do apologize. I checked, double-checked, triple-checked, quadruple-checked. And I am, once again, using what happened to me a few days ago, still recovering from my biopsy, as my excuse. So, what's your excuse? Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Discuss series, and feel free and check the playlist for previous Discuss videos. If you have a worst video game or video games and you did not make the list, feel free and leave that below in the comments section. And there will not be a Discuss video next week because we're going to be Let's Playing the third and final expansion to Mafia 3 Sign of the Times, which is launching Tuesday, July 25th. So starting Tuesday, we're going to be Let's Playing that, start to finish. And then the following week probably, or following day after I'm done, I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but then I'll put out a review video. And we'll have more Discuss episodes. So this is your opportunity. Look over the playlist. Go back and watch some of the Discuss videos, or all the Discuss videos, because we're going on hiatus next week from the Discuss series. And if there is a future Discuss video idea that you have in mind, leave it below in the comments section via Twitter or Facebook. So give me an idea of what you would like to see for a future installment in the Discuss series.